Hello, so in this video I'm going to tell you how to get a driving test quicker for free. You don't have to sign up to any websites, it won't cost you a penny, and you can do all this fast, free and easily. These are up-to-date, fresh tips from my 20 years experience as a driving instructor, so let's get straight into it. The first tip is that your instructor's ADI number could be incorrectly set up. Now you might be thinking, what's an ADI number and what difference does that make to me? Every driving instructor has a reference number, and when you become an instructor you can log into a system and tell it the dates and times that you're available for driving tests. The thing is, many driving instructors set this up years and years ago, and they've actually forgotten to update it, which means the driving tests that they could do are not showing up on the system. To get around this problem, look for a driving test without using your driving instructor's ADI number. You may well find that there are many tests available, but it's just that because your instructor's number was incorrectly set up and it was maybe blocking Tuesday mornings or maybe blocking weekend tests that they didn't used to do but they now do, you may find that a test becomes available when you wouldn't have otherwise seen it. Search for new driving test centres. You may be surprised to learn that driving test centres do pop up every now and then, and if you're just looking at the same one over and over, you may not even know that there is another one next door which has got loads of tests available and you're missing out. This happened to me only a few years ago when a people contacted me and said, "Do you do driving tests at this leisure centre?" which was almost next door to the test centre that I always use. And I thought the people had it wrong. I thought, what are they talking about? There's not even a test centre there, it's a leisure centre. So I went online, looked it up, and what do you know? There was a test centre there. These are what you call pop-up test centres. They are temporary test centres that appear when other centres are fully booked, and they take pressure off those other centres to get the waiting times down. If you're just constantly looking for the same test centre, make sure you do a search around your local area and see if there are any new driving test centres that have appeared. What if you found a driving test and it's at a time that you really don't want to do, or maybe your instructor doesn't work? If you've searched for one without using an ADI number and you've seen some that come up at 7 in the morning, for example where I am in Birmingham, the first tests begin at 7:04 AM. If you want to know why the tests begin at such weird times, there will be a link in the description to a page on my website explaining that. But what if your driving instructor really does not want to do one of these tests, maybe on a weekend, or it's very early, or at a time that they don't normally work? Well, here's a great tip for you. Offer your instructor an incentive to do that test. A few years ago, I had a pupil who was desperate for a driving test, and there was one available at 7 in the morning that I really didn't want to do. The pupil offered me to recommend one of their friends who wanted driving lessons. They were a complete beginner, so they'd be taking a whole course of driving lessons. So effectively, if I was to do that driving test early in the morning, I'd get over £1,000 of income from a new pupil. You might be surprised to learn that I did that driving test. So do make your driving instructor an offer, as long as it's something that's legal, of course. Don't offer them something daft. But if you make them a sensible offer, like recommending a friend, or maybe putting a post on your social media linking to some of their videos, anything that you offer an instructor could be an incentive for them to want to do a test when they otherwise may not do it. So don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get. Keep refreshing the pages and looking for tests regularly. I often hear from pupils that say they had a look yesterday and there weren't any tests. And I asked them, well, how often did you look? And they said, well, I went on there once. Driving test cancellations come and go within minutes, sometimes within seconds. I've been on the system myself and seen the test come up, and by the time I've clicked on it, just seconds later, it's already gone, because when you click on a test, you reserve it for a short amount of time, when you can then contact your instructor to check if they can do it. So if you really are serious about getting a driving test quicker, faster and sooner, keep checking the page often. Log in several times a day and look. Don't just look once a day, because tests come and go very quickly. Ask your driving instructor if there's any chance you can swap a test with another pupil of theirs. This is something I've done over the years when I've had a pupil who's had a test coming up in a couple of weeks' time, but they're not going to be ready for it because they've either missed lessons or things just haven't gone to plan. What I've done is arranged with that pupil for them to cancel that driving test at a very specific time, let's say something like 9:17 p.m. I've even arranged it so we've all been in a chat room together, so there's me, the pupil that wants a test, and the pupil that has a test. The pupil that has a test cancels it, and immediately the one that wants a test is already on the booking system. They see the test cancellation come up from the pupil that's cancelled theirs, and they book it immediately. Look on the system at different times of the day when other people aren't on. Now the system opens at 6 a.m, so if you go on first thing in the morning, you'll often find that test cancellations have come up. It's open until midnight, and yeah, it's quite strange for a website to have opening times, but the driving test booking system is only open from 6 a.m. until midnight. So if you go on quite late or quite early, you will often find tests when other people are still in bed. Check out these other videos on the screen now to watch full-length driving test routes full of hints and tips on how to pass your driving test, or check out this other video which shows you about driving test booking scams. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon for more videos.